Having regained his strength, Lars makes his way to Lithuanian territories. Lithuanians and their aukštaičiai kin have been described in various chronicles as powerful, militant, and savage people. They were known to terrorize their neighbors. The Chronicle of Henry of Livonia notes that in 1205, some 2,000 Lithuanian horsemen rode to the Estonian lands to plunder them and threatened to destroy the local trade metropolis, Riga, upon their return. According to written records, Lithuanians had no fear of death. It was an honor to die in a battle, and sometimes they took their own lives rather than surrender to their enemies. This is in stark contrast to the Christians, who considered suicide horrifying and one of the greatest sins a Christian could commit. The threat of Christian crusaders encouraged Duke Mindaugas to conquer other Lithuanian and Aukštaičian rulers to unify these lands into the Grand Dutchy of Lithuania. Mindaugas converted to Christianity and was crowned king with the blessing of the Roman Pope Innocent IV. However, as the military threat from his Christian neighbors diminished, he renounced his newly adopted faith and banished all monks and priests from his lands. At the height of its glory in the 15th century, the Grand Duchy of Lithuania became the largest European state and a significant military force, bringing together various faiths, languages, and cultures.
I arrived at a large city called Kernavė, considered to be the most important city of the Lithuanian duchy. Neither Kuršaitis nor I had ever seen such a city, covering 5 hill forts. My misfortunes were behind me, and they receded in my memory as a wicked adventure, which, when I returned to Denmark, would surely enthrall many listeners.
Kernavė has been an inhabited area since the Stone Age. Unlike other medieval settlements, it did not have a defensive wall, but the city was protected by its favorable geographical location near the marshy banks of the Neris River. In times of peace, the inhabitants lived in villages near the hill forts or on the surrounding farmsteads. In the event of an attack or siege, they could take shelter in the forts, each of which could house up to 300 people.
Back then, as I left Kernavė behind me, I thought that I had some understanding of the order established in the pagan lands. But once again, I could not believe my eyes. Even though I had heard that there were Eastern or Byzantine preachers in these lands, I was surprised to see that they had succeeded in building a church in a land hostile towards Christ. As a Catholic, the Byzantine faith was rather foreign to me. I hoped to speak with the Holy Father, as I was sure that we shared the same God. The Holy Father could not control his anger towards me. I didn't know the reason of his frustration, but maybe it was because my brothers of faith had just attacked and pillaged Constantinople, the center of Byzantine Church. Probably he was furious to all Catholics, but honestly, even I did not understand the could not justify their actions. But what's done is done. At least I managed to acquire some horses in Karnave, which would surely make our journey easier and faster. I also stocked up on some goods that I intended to sell for good profit elsewhere. The horse trader, well acquainted with the neighboring territories, suggested I go north, where many rich castles could be found and a great river called the Daugava flows.
In the 1st century of our era, the Roman senator and historian Tacitus, in his famous work Germania, described the ancestors of the Baltic tribes as, in producing of grain and the other fruits of the earth, they labor with more assiduity and patience than is suitable to the usual laziness of Germans.